Do you know what?
It won't
I was
be
just going to let you two. I was just going to let you two continue to argue there. Whose phone was it?
I haven't got my phone's in charge in the other room.
Mate, my phone's never on loud.
He's got no mate, so I can't be in. It's yours, Jamie.
Look.
Yeah, it's mine. It's mine after
it's just done that. Look at that. Oh, my God.
You just drop a bomb in. I get blamed for it. And then, it's me. And then nothing will be said of it. And we'll go back to the next thing.
I'm glad to see that you two lads are just carrying on what has been the theme of the week on Twitter, where Tank's Facts
Not for me. Not for me.
Well, I'm getting to that bit, Jim. I'm getting to that bit. So Tank's Facts made an appearance, and Tank's like, Jamie, got some good facts for you today, lad. I was like, go ahead, mate. So he sent over the video. And it was basically just an assassination of Jimmy, basically, while sat on your tractor. So Jimmy then responds on Twitter and gets himself banned. So that was an interesting week.
Tank wins that one. All I said is he hoping knocks his teeth out. And the worst thing was...
things what I say on Twitter, and I don't get but that made my day.
And then I was looking at some other stuff, and like... You remember...
Have you researched it, Jim?
What?
Have you researched it? Like, what gets you banned?
No,
I think what it was, mate, is I reported them as well.
Remember when I got banned for 24 hours for saying Ronaldo was better than Messi?
Did you actually?
That's how ridiculous your statement was.
I don't know if you heard Tank there, though, Jim. Tank turned around and said, yeah, but it's probably him. He's put in a claim to get you booted off Twitter.
Yeah, Tank's reported me. That's it.
Right, I'm going to report you when I get a fee for that fucking salmon top you've got on.
The worst thing was, though, I retweeted the tweet and I hadn't even listened to the facts. I retweeted it and then I thought, I better listen to them. And I was like, you fucking bastard. But then I
just had the tractor all serviced and everything, all the tyres done, the battery done, petrol in it, new, fucking brand new, the blade lifted, and I was like, Jimmy's getting it.
Do you know what's funny? I don't think I've ever seen Tank as happy as whenever he sat on that tractor, like his hair blowing in the wind, like he gets so giddy.
Honestly, me and Frankie used to for nearly 2 hours just in the paddock, just cutting all the paddock. The paddock's got it's like fucking Anfield. The grass is unreal and no one goes there.
Really?
Just up and down, chilling out. It's fucking brilliant. Frankie thinks he's driving, but he's not.
Oh, yeah, that old chest. I remember way back. It was actually, I think it was my dad. He used to do the driving trick in the car where he'd like drive with his legs, but he'd be like, oh, no hands. And as a kid, you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Jimbo, how's your week been, lad? Any news?
Not a lot, mate. No, just...
You were boozing last night. You feeling a little
boozing last night, yeah, which is unheard of for me. To be well, it's not unheard of, obviously, but yeah,
getting a bit older now. You haven't got it in you, have you?
Older, yeah. Niece is 18th, so a few boozy, watching the United game. Nice family round. 23 of us round the table, lads. It's mental, like. Followed by a family quiz. We love a family quiz in our house.
Very competitive. Your big driver of the games, isn't she?
Well, listen to this, right? So it was a family quiz on the birthday girls.
Fuming there, are you?
Well, I am fuming. Listen, right? It was a family quiz on the birthday girl, right? So, as I said, she's 18. Family quiz. Guess who I get paired with? Her dad, right?
As in, like, you've got to compete against him?
No. He's on my team. It's me and him against other pairs. So it's pairs. So I'm thinking, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd think
Shit,
so.
He was awful.
Colin, don't know anything about his daughter.
Colin, like, got all the questions wrong. I'm like, mate, what are you doing? Didn't win any round. Didn't win anything. There was Easter eggs up for grabs, all sorts, little trophies. I got nothing with the dad. Fucking shite.
Mate, that's unbelievable. Yeah, I'd say he's in the doghouse now that he doesn't know his own daughter.
No, right, and listen to this, right? If you've got to work out the day that they were born on, right? So you've got to work out the day. And yesterday was a Sunday, right?
Okay.
So we know her birthday's on Wednesday. So the way to work it out, I was like, well, I'll just count back 18 days, don't you?
Yeah,
and you'll land on the day, won't you?
No
strategy.
Leap year.
No. Yeah. See, who counts for leap years? All these people. And I'm going Saturday, Friday, fucking Thursday.
Craig David here.
Thinks of leap year.
Yeah, that's good, that Tank.
Man.
My mum was born on leap year, you see, so that's why I'd count that in.
But
You
how
know
would
what's
you
mad?
know as well? When is a leap year? Is it every 3 or 4
Every
years?
4 years.
Do you know what's mad, right,
See,
with Tank?
that's
You can
surprising.
say things with Tank, right? And like he'll get like mad obvious things wrong. But then like with certain things, you're like Rain Man, Tank. It's
That is Rain
unbelievable.
Man.
Like
That's
the
super
speed
light.
at which he was like, nope, not having it. Or
Yeah.
like if it's to do with like numbers or and like, you just I don't know, you just
Oh mate, that
operate
was
a bit
unbelievable
different.
at school at maths, like off the charts.
Really?
Like proper off the charts. I got kicked, and do you know the most bizarre thing about it? This is the God's honest truth. And I got kicked out of my exams for cheating.
Why would you cheat if you were good at
I
it?
never. That's the whole point. And like honestly, the fucking
Hold
maths
on.
teacher-
Hold
No,
on, mate. Are you saying? Are
No,
you
Is that
saying
good?
no,
Is that good that they thought he was using a calculator?
what happened was there was me and the other lads in the class who were fucking like way. Don't get me wrong, I was shit at nearly everything else in school. Fucking hated it. And but maths, I was unreal at. And me and my mate were like fucking top of the class, and we just used to sit working with each other. And they had like the fucking. You remember they used to have like the maths thing with the colour on the top. Like if you were on like fucking pink and all that, you were thick as fuck. And the darker the colour went down, like we were clever as fuck. We were on brown and black headlines and all that. So me and him were like just worked because we were at the same level. So, but then the percentage of your normal fucking work in your classroom went to your maths test, and they found that I was about the same. So I got kicked out of my maths, and so did they. I felt sorry for him because I was on my way to Tranmere, and he was a proper intelligent lad, and he had to resit his maths and English. He lost his maths and his English due to it.
No way.
I swear to God, yeah. And obviously I never resat mine because I didn't give a fuck. I was kicking the bag of wind round. But that's the God's honest truth, that.
Jesus.
Tight you are on that kid, cheating off him.
Ruining lives there.
Yeah,
I was pulling him along with me,
homeless now.
You should have brought him in as your agent, mate, if he was that good at numbers.
He never spoke to him after he got kicked out.
Oh, really? Jesus. Tank, how's the teeth update, mate? All good?
Yeah, you know, they settled down a bit. The swelling's gone out of my eye. It still baffles me that's the wrong side, but it's the right side because of this. Fucking weird. So it's that side, but that's not that side because it's this side. But I have to touch that side so it makes it look at that side. So the swelling's gone, which I'm fucking happy about. I've already got a fat head, and when the swelling was there, it was fucking double fat.
So what's the next step now? How long do you have to wait?
Well, the next step, I've still got all the stitches in. I've got to get all the stitches out, and then the bottom's coming out in the temporaries, and then 4 weeks after that, bosh, fucking big smile.
Full whole teeth.
Oh, you're not wrong. Full on Bobby Firmino, fucking smile.
Go on, lad. I have to be honest, lads, right? I'm knackered.
Weekend,
oh, lad, yeah, I'm knackered. I'm absolutely knackered. I actually don't think, like, so Josh my son was running in the All Ireland Championship. So basically, he's.
By the way, fucking big shout out to the young man as well. Quality, that, by the way.
Unbelievable.
Don't take this the wrong way. It's like, it's the most Irish fucking thing ever, and you fucking them stupid Irish. Let's have a final, but it's not a final, but we call it a final.
Oh yeah, I'll get it. It's honestly, it's mad, right? So he was running, so he won the Dublin. So he's doing 3 events. You're only allowed to do 3 events as an individual kid. Like, so he's a sprinter. So he did the 60 meters, which is the one he wanted to win. And he just kept saying to me, "I want to be the fastest kid in Ireland." That's what he said anything after that, but it's just because he's so competitive. He started doing the 600 meters, and they kind of said to him, "Look, you're a sprinter. You shouldn't really do the 600 meters." And he's like, "Right, I'm going to do it now, just because you kind of said that I shouldn't." So he was obsessed with that one. And then a couple of weeks ago, he started doing the long jump, and it turned out he was all right at the long jump as well. So we went into it. We had 2 days so it's all the best kids from all the different counties in Ireland that come together. So we had the long jump first on the Saturday, and he was jumping well. He did no fouls or whatever. I think he was about 3rd or 4th going into his last jump. And then he did an absolute monster jump of, I think it was 4 meters 41 to put him top of the long jump, right? And there was one kid to do 1 jump left. And you could see that in his face, he was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to do this here." And would you believe the lad pipped him on the last jump? So he came 2nd in the long jump. But as I said to him at the time, like, I have no technical advice at all. I understand, like, sports and mind games and like little stuff like that, but like as far as technique, his mum was a sprinter for Ireland, so this is her thing. And I said to him in the long jump, he's like, what should I do, Dad? And I was like, just run dead fast and jump, mate. I was like, I've got nothing else.
What more advice do you need?
You can't go wrong there.
Jump. Just run and jump dead
Run
high.
dead high, yeah, that's it. He's like, thanks, Dad. I was like, no worries, son. But it was the running ones that he wanted to do. So then later on that day, it was the 60 metre, and lads, so there was a live link. So all the family were watching it. The family in England, the family in Ireland. I think some the African side of his family. Like it was, everyone was buzzing for it. And his times were super razor close with the other lads in this. And with the 60 meters, it's like, it's a midgie's dick away from winning or losing. Like there's nothing in it. In his heat, right? So he did one heat to qualify for the final. I didn't realize. Kids get like kicked out for false starts. These are 11-year-old kids, right?
Yeah.
So one lad so Josh did a false start first, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh,
and you could see that
it's 2 false starts, you're out, in it.
But you know what they said to him, Jim? After he did his false start, they said to all the kids, the next one to do it is a goner. And we were like, what? So then there was another false start, but it wasn't Josh, and the lad got booted and couldn't do that. And we were like, oh my God. Intense. Anyway, so he won his heat, got into the final, and got to the final. Started well, then had a bit of a wobble. And with about, I would say, 20 meters left, he was about 4 for 5th because he'd had a wobble at the start. And somehow, I don't know how he managed to do it. He made it up over that last bit, got 8.41. He's close to an Irish record. Like, he was absolutely rapid. Fair play to him. So he won that, so he was buzzing. But the thing that Tank's talking about there, the next day on the Sunday, he had the 600 meters, right? And the mad thing was they didn't have a final. So it wasn't like, you win your heat, you get into the final, and it's all the best lads against each other. There was 2 heats that don't compete against each other, but as in they don't go through to a final. It's based on all the times. So we were like, you could have a really slow heat and win it. But in reality, because you're not running against the quicker lads, you could come like 4 for 5th based on time. So it seemed really, really weird. Anyway, the lad who had the quickest time going into the final, Josh, was in Josh's heat. So we kind of said to him, look, beat him and you should be in a good place. But Josh's heat was first. And he's a sprinter, right? So there was we said to him, just don't leg it. Get a bit of pacing behind the second or third lad. He just ignored everything we said, and he just basically legged it for 3 laps. Legged it for 3 laps of the track. Absolutely smashed his time. Got down to, I think he did it in 1 minute 42 seconds, right? Yeah. And he was made up because he beat that lad and it put him in a really good place. He won the Dublins on 1:48, so he'd shaved off 6 seconds of his time. So he ran so well, really put in a shift. And what it meant was the lads in the second heat could run against his time. They were trying to beat just his time. And I think the winning lad got it by, what was his? I think it was 1:41.9 or something. So he didn't win and he was fuming or whatever. And we just said to him, man, be unbelievably proud.
To be fair, to ask the kids to run 600 meters is
probably a lot.
I understand where they're coming from. You just got to run as fast as you can and hope for the best, haven't you?
But they should then just go, here's the top 6 based on times across all of, do you know what I mean? And then you're in the final. But anyway, he was the only kid to win 3 medals in his age group across different sports. So he is, he's in the good books. Unbelievable. But lads, when he plays his footy matches, I don't know what you're like. I felt like
you know what I'm like.
Well, that's a very fair point. But I feel like as one of his coaches, I can at least influence or help or, influence how things go for him. Whereas for this, I was like, I just had to stand and watch, and he'd disappear for an hour before the race, so I couldn't even give him instructions. So it was an emotional roller coaster of a weekend, but that is a weekend I will never forget. Just seeing your kids achieve a goal of theirs is something else. You were a sprinter, weren't you? You were telling me, Tank.
Yeah, I used to go
back as a kid.
Mate. Yeah,
running from the police.
Yeah. No, fucking done 11 seconds when I was 14, 15. Wow. Proper fucking seriously quick. Yeah. Went to London, running a big competition in London, and honestly, lads, it's like I'm fucking stood there with all of these giants, like monsters, and I'm like, the fuck, and just fucking smoked them and broke a record. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. It was very close what I was going to do, but I was never really passionate about. I used to always run for the school and win everything for the school, but I was never, footballer or runner. In my head, there's no competition, is it? It's football all the way.
Yeah, Josh is the same. His mum tried to be like, "Oh, Josh, you might have to make it. You might have to make a choice." He's like, "There's no choice, mum. Don't even try." Like, it's just not a thing. Lads, we did no predictions. Jimbo, what's going on,
mate? This is not my fault. You were off gallivanting all weekend, putting the worst excuse ever because you had to go to these trials. So you had to get Josh's spikes ready. You couldn't do Friday live, so I've just gone.
Is this you saying it's everyone else's fault? Yeah.
So I've just mate. I've been in. I've not been in a.
You're not happy with us,
I don't mind, and I got 6 correct scores and results. I'm all right.
What are the chances of that? Eh?
Yeah,
you know what? I actually forgot as well this week about them.
I completely forgot.
I think we all did.
International week. I think it's killed us a little bit.
Totally. So we're just this week didn't happen. Rolls over to next week. But what did happen this weekend? There's a lot to talk about. It was an interesting weekend of Premier League news, action, and all the storylines. Tank, we are now in the midst of 12 managers being sacked during
13?
The Premier League.
I thought it was 13.
Oh, is he the I thought it was 12.
He was the 12.
I've got 13 in my head.
Okay. Either way, it's a shocking number, but I think it's 12. Obviously, Potter got the sack over the weekend. Brendan Rodgers got the sack. First things first.
Waiting on Klopp on Tuesday night.
Yeah, we'll come to that one as well. The Potter one first is a mad one, Tank, because we were talking about it before we started the podcast, right? So Chelsea spent 22 million to buy Potter out of his Brighton contract. Then they're going to be due to pay him 60 million, and you were saying upfront compo to buy him out of the remainder of his contracts. That's 82 million they've had to spend to get Potter in, to give him a short period of time in relative terms. Results have been poor, don't get me wrong. And when you've spent that amount of money, your head is already on the chopping block. But these weren't even his players. Like, these are clearly the board just splashing the cash. Never really quite felt like he was invested in some of the players maybe that were coming in. They didn't fit his type of model, type of style, whatever. It was a mishmash of players. Ultimately, it was a total clusterfuck from Chelsea, all things said.
Yeah, and the thing about it is with the LMA as well is you have to pay these contracts up sharp.
Is it always up front, is it?
You've got
a lot of the time they put them on gardening leave and then pay them as they would be anyway.
No, not with the LMA now, mate. If you've sacked them now, the LMA can get you. Like, I've spoken to Mickey Adams about this, and the LMA, like, there's normally a 30-day clause that you have to pay these managers up because you can't just put them on gardening. Because what clubs were doing in the past and why it changed was they were getting sacked and then they were negotiating, and other clubs are coming in saying we'd like to speak to him, and then the other club are going, oh, well, he's in talks with them, so that'll affect what we're going to pay him because he's not off. He's already taken another job there. So now the LMA were like, no, you have a period to rectify this contract. And lads, I've got to be honest with you. I'm absolutely delighted that he's getting a £60 million payoff because it's a fucking shambles of a club. This owner's come in and look, he's gone and many parts of it. I like what he's done, but he's gone, right, we're going out and we're going to try and buy the best young prospects in European football. That's great. But you can't just expect instant success like this. I mean, fucking hell. He's signed about 20 players. I mean, I honestly, we were talking off it. I think Liverpool dodged a massive bullet with this Endo Fernandez because he's had 6 months in European football at Benfica, had a good World Cup. But every time I watched him, I'm like, he's just okaying. He doesn't blow me away. Now, for 105 million, I think you should be entitled to be blown away by a player. He should be the absolute real deal who's coming in and making an impact. But I'm delighted that he's going to get the big payoff, and I'm delighted that this owner's getting his bollocks tickled now as well because he's looking like a fucking clown.
Yeah, it's weird, Jim, because you look at Potter and I'll be honest, me and Tank, I remember the podcast well, and I still hold this view. We were like, who would you potentially like to replace Klopp? And I actually rate Graham Potter very, very highly. But it was actually you, Jim, who made the point about the change in expectation when you move to big clubs. When you couple that with, let's say, a trigger-happy owner when you say trigger happy, I don't mean in terms of sacked, but he's meddling, he's involved, he's buying all these players, he's in the middle of everything. It was a recipe for a disaster for the start for Potter, surely, and the fans never quite warmed to him. I think once you see in stadiums, mate, once fans start to, you can hear them, the discontent. It's never really reversed, is it, from that point?
I think the biggest issue is that, from my point of view, if I was a Chelsea fan, would be that he never really found his strongest team and continued to play it. So, they were talking on the radio today that they had one centre-back playing at the weekend with about 4 or 5 wing-backs in various different positions. They had Reece James, I think they had Cucurella playing as centre-half. Still don't know where he plays. It's just been a mishmash, but I think he needed to stick with his guns with the players coming in and going, no, this is a team I'm playing. I just don't think he managed to really cement a team that was able to do what he wanted to do. I'll be honest, I think he needed to go from a Chelsea point of view, because I just think that the players weren't buying into it. Apparently, when they were announced he's sacked, I think 4 or 5 players have liked the post on Instagram and stuff like that. So
that tells you a lot about the players at Chelsea, that though, for me.
It is that. I do get that, but if the players aren't liking the manager too, they're not gonna perform like that, are they? So I think it's a good outcome for both, really, because Graham Potter will get his payoff. Do you think his
stock's gone down?
Nah, no, I don't think. I think he'll get another job somewhere else. I think
he'll go straight into Leicester City.
I think he'll go into another job. I think if he fails in that, then there might be starting questions coming out. But at the minute, I think he's still at his bright and highest, because everyone else will blame the chairman, the signings. It's not. There's been other circumstances that have helped to come to this decision. So I think he'll probably welcome it. I think he felt the pressure quite a lot. You could see in his demeanour when, going in, he was relatively fresh-faced, and now, he looks like a man with all the weight on his shoulders. So, yeah, I think he'll get another job relatively quick. I don't like the way Chelsea have, conducted themselves during his reign, but I think it was the right decision. I'm surprised. I am surprised it didn't happen sooner. You can't get beat 2-0 at home to Villa and not get the tin tack after spending all that.
Do you know what you're saying? Like, he looks like do you know what made me laugh, lads? That's what I was laughing at then. Do you know when he first got the job? Remember he come out when his
the glow up
was perfect, his hair.
He had a smart coat on and everything. Yeah. Looked awful now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's funny, right? Because you look back, Tank, at the path that Chelsea have taken. Is there an argument here? Because I watched an interview with Tuchel when he was announced as the Bayern manager, and you can see that he's bitter. He's not over what happened at Chelsea. He spoke openly about his love for the club and the project, and it seemed like a lot of the fans were bought into Tuchel. They weren't happy when he was given the bullets. It's easy to sit here now with the benefit of hindsight and be like, yeah, that was a bad decision. But really, it does look like a strange decision. If one of two things, either A, don't sack Tuchel, or B, if you're going to sack Tuchel, throw all this money at Potter, then throw all this money at players. You surely have to give him the time to try and get the way out of this. It just feels like they've made such a mess, and looking back, you'd probably fancy Tuchel to work with a lot of these players to get them out of the situation they're in.
Problem about Tuchel is that he's an elite manager. He's been at all big clubs and he's been successful at a majority of them, if not all of them. So when you've got a new owner who's coming in, and there's no getting away from the fact that these managers are not signing these players. So Tuchel's very vocal, as you can, and I think the other thing about Tuchel as well is the new modern managers, I think the fans like to see, do you like if your Contes and your Tuchels, your Klopps and your Guardiola, they love to see the whole package where they're fucking getting the crowd going and the emotional and everything, and Potter's not that. But the owner's probably gone to Tuchel and said, we're signing him, and he was like, I don't fucking want them. No.
Yeah, they're not my players.
Where,
yeah, with that path, with that history of success, you can turn around and go, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I don't want that. Where Potter's coming in and saying, look, we're going to pay you an absolute fucking fortune. We want you to coach the players who we bring in. You're going from Brighton to Chelsea, which is a huge, I'm not being funny, he's a young up-and-coming manager. It was a massive opportunity for him. But then it's he had full control of everything at Brighton. And this is what I found a bit strange, why, looking back now, and it's easy in hindsight, why he took the job. Because he was in Brighton, he was in control of absolutely everything. He coached them, he picked the team, he picked the players he wanted to play in his team, and the system what suited it. And then he's gone to Chelsea, and he's just like, you've got all of these players. I'll be honest, lads, I've been a coach and an assistant manager, and for the amount of players what Chelsea's got, I think I touched this on a podcast last time, it's difficult to put sessions on with that many players. And the problem you've got then is then when you're getting, like, you want to narrow it down to 18 to 22 players, and then when you're telling all the just to fuck off, you've got a big problem. You've got a pointless camp.
So this, that was I'm glad you said it, because that was something I was thinking about before when Jimmy said about the liking at the posts. And Jim, Tank touches on it there. You can only pick so many players. And when you've got that many good world-class established players, if you're doing your patterns of play during the week and maybe, and your focus for the game at the weekend, and some of these players are left out, they're going to be actively rooting against that manager because they believe, and probably rightly, because maybe they've not all had the opportunities, because you can't give everybody opportunities and change the team every week. No. So maybe rightly, these players have been put into a situation where they maybe joined a club or they've got good history with a club. They're not getting the game time. The manager can only play so many players. And ultimately, then you just get this negativity around the camp. Tank will know it in dressing rooms. Jim, you'll have seen it. You probably caused a few of them, to be honest, knowing you as I do. But it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it?
Yeah, and the issue that came with it is when you've signed all the players, you've not got rid of the players they needed to get rid of. People like Azpilicueta, probably Kante's been there quite long now with his injury record. He should be on his way out. So you've got the 30-odd players, but they've got deadwood that they need to get away, so then shrink it down. So you've got these established players. You've then got these new players that have been brought in by someone else who've been told they're going to play or whatnot. And then you've got Graham Potter in the middle. So he's on a hide into nothing. He literally can't win. Do you get rid of the established players and get them training with the kids to cause, they're going to cause uproar within the camp. So it's him personally was never going to win out of that situation. There was too many players coming in, not enough going out. And he's just left with this nucleus of a squad that is far too big to be able to actually impart any sort of wisdom. This is why I think they'll go with maybe a temporary manager till the summer, get rid of the deadwood, and then work with what they want to work with.
That's what I was going to say, Tank. Who's your money on? Because obviously we've got Rodgers out of the Leicester job now. You touched on it there. You maybe think Potter will look to step in there. You've obviously got Spurs who are managerless at the moment. I still think that's an appealing job because of the location. London-based, massive stadium. It's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. There's talk of Poch, there's talk of De Zerbi, there's talk of, there was talk of Tuchel. And so what do you think? Yeah, that's the one. How do you think it's going to play out?
For me, Nagelsmann's an absolute disaster of an appointment for the way Chelsea owner wants it, because he's fucking having himself. He's like, he would eat himself in. And I just think he is an absolute car crash to go in there with the Chelsea owner. I would take him if he could be allowed to do his thing. I do think he's a very good young manager. He won everything at Bayern Munich, but he fell out with a few people at Bayern Munich too. So with Chelsea, it depends what the owner wants, Jamie, to be honest with you, mate. Because if he wants a yes man, you're going to go down the lines of getting another Potter. Because these top coaches, there's talks of Zinedine Zidane. He won't come in and just say, yeah, you tell me what team to pick, and that's no problem at all, thank you. I mean, I've got to be honest with you, when you look at Chelsea's squad, it's fucking phenomenal. I mean, they signed someone yesterday as well. This is the bizarre thing. The young wonder kid from South America. So they've signed, they keep signing players. So the squad is phenomenal, but something's got to give, hasn't it, with the owner, because he can't go down the route of Potter again, because it's not worked. It won't work. So it's a difficult one. It's easy to say, like, who'll want the job? Everyone will want the job, because if you get sacked, you get the 60 million quid payoff. So it's fucking brilliant. But I think Rodgers will go to Tottenham now. And I think if Chelsea's owner bites the bullet, and I think Rodgers is a perfect fit for Tottenham. I think he's perfect.
But the Rodgers one's weird, isn't it, Jim? Because I kind of feel...
failed.
I know
he's failed upwards.
But do you know what's mad, though?
Jimmy, he hasn't. Let's look at the facts at Leicester City, by the way. Let's look at the facts there. He's won the FA Cup. They played some outstanding football.
They do, all right. When I mean fail upwards, like, you got the job at Liverpool, didn't exactly set the world alight. What did he do? Finish second, win a couple of cups, maybe?
Possibly the most entertaining couple of seasons I've seen Liverpool play.
I give you that.
Well, that's absolutely disrespectful, right?
Suarez and
a very
Sturridge.
poor... No, hold on. But to give him his credit, and I'm not always a Rodgers fan, but if you look at how that team was comprised, right? They had Simon Mignolet in goal. They had John Flanagan right back, Ali Sissoko left back, and I think it was Skirtle, and who was the other centre back? Was it Cara? It wasn't Cara, was it?
He was coming to no.
Aga.
It was might have been Aga. And my mind's gone blank, but it was.
It wasn't great.
Yeah,
No.
it was, the back five wasn't great. And then what he
is-
did, though, Jim, hold on, mate. The point he was able to do, then he had Sterling, Sturridge, Suarez, Coutinho. Unless a manager wouldn't have found... Look at Gareth Southgate in the front of my mind. Yeah. Unless a manager wouldn't have found a way to get get those four into a team. He then played Steven Gerrard in a deep line midfield role with Henderson alongside him to do his running, and then basically said to the front four, "Go fucking nuts, lad." So it was unbelievable.
He plays decent football. I get that.
Yeah, but the thing about Leicester, the thing about Leicester, Jimmy, is
serial winner, does he? He went to Celtic and won everything. I mean, us three could be the management team at Celtic and win everything.
But he had some of the best European nights at Celtic as well. We got some big results in Europe at Celtic.
I'm not saying he's a bad manager at all. My point is he's failing upwards in that I don't think he's he's a great manager and he gets the team playing well. But if I'm a Spurs fan, if I'm a Spurs fan, I have no idea what I want. I want to win something. And I don't think he's the guy to go and win something. I'd want someone like a Nagelsmann, like a Zidane. That's what I want to see at Tottenham, not a Rodgers.
Do you know what it is? I don't know, Sam, because I still think Brendan Rodgers is actually an excellent coach. And by coach, I mean...
Steve McLaren was an excellent coach, but he wasn't a great manager.
Yeah, but I think Rodgers has proof points of him doing well as a manager.
Steve McLaren as a manager and Brendan Rodgers should never be mentioned in the same fucking breath of air. Steve McLaren's shit.
No, my point is that when Steve McLaren was assistant manager, everyone said he was the best coach going.
Yeah, but Rodgers has never been assistant manager. He's only ever been a manager.
I know, but look at what you're saying is because he's such a good coach, then it naturally will succeed as a manager.
For me, the failings at Leicester City's got nothing to do with Brendan Rodgers. Nothing at all. Nothing. They've come 2 seasons ago and said, right, you need to sell all of these players because we're not putting another penny in our pocket. And not only that, we want all of our money back. So he's had to sell. And he's had to...
Do you think the rug's been pulled from under him, Tank?
Completely and utterly pulled from underneath him. Completely. I'm not being funny, lads, right? You watch this Leicester City side this season. I think they must be the most unlucky side that I've ever watched play football. They went to Man United and should have been 6-0 up at half time, and they end up getting beat somehow. You watch them, they pummel teams left, right, and centre, and then just because of the lack of investment and the lack of signings, they've lost all of the fucking defenders. They've got like the kid who they signed from Stoke. They've got bits of kids who was coming through the academy playing left back. I feel if Brendan Rodgers got that Tottenham Hotspur job, he would take a style of play what the fans would fucking love, and if he got a little bit of backing and took a James Maddison there, they'd be a force again.
Jimbo, unfortunately, I'm going to have to come on to Liverpool here. I wasn't really planning on it. They constantly ruined my weekends. I'm just thankful to Josh for taking my mind off it, to be honest, because Liverpool, I adore Liverpool, but they're doing my head in at the minute, and I'm going to judge your reactions as to where I should place mine, because I put out a tweet and I thought long and hard about doing it because I don't want to be one of them shitbag fans that's like, it's an outrage, it's this, it's that, pure Arsenal fan TV. But when I was watching that game, the word that there was cowardly performances from Liverpool players. And don't get me wrong, I thought Liverpool were good in the first half. As going to City, you can go to City and get beat. Let's get this right, lads. Like, you can play well at City and get beat. They're brilliant. They were, Liverpool in the first half, I think, as a team where they are at the moment against City going for the title, I think Liverpool did well. I think they could have been a couple of goals up, to be honest, and with a couple of other decisions going their way, I think you could have been looking at a different game at half time. Then they come out in the second half and basically throw in the towel. And there's 2 or 3, 4 players that consistently seem to have done that throughout the course of this season. And Liverpool have gone from being mentality monsters to being a team that are so easy to play against that as soon as anything remotely goes against them, they wilt. And that, for me, Jim, as a fan, mistakes will happen. Mistakes happen on football pitches. Strikers miss chances. We know as football fans, you can watch games and go, they were at it today, but it just wasn't our day. It can happen. Tank spoke about it there with Leicester. You can see they're playing well. With some smart tweaks, they can bounce back quite quickly. I just can't allow for what seems like either players not giving a shit, not wanting to put in the hard yards. It just lack of effort. That's what it seemed like for me. And lack of quality, ultimately.
I disagree with all the first half. I thought, when you scored, the possession stats were 70-20.
Football's not based on possession.
I agree, but we can all use our eyes in
if
the
you
fact
but if you break quickly, if you try and keep the ball from if you break quickly,
that was the only
City,
shot you had on target was the goal, wasn't it?
But there was opportunities where Salah, we broke. Salah was through. He could have rolled it across. Like there was openings there with better quality that Liverpool showed for me. That showed,
but you can't. The
way you can't base it off tactics. City are always going to have more of the ball, but Liverpool were primed and ready to hit them on the counter, which is why the team has picked the way it was.
They might have been. Worked perfectly. The way that you've resorted to playing on counter-attacking football from the greatest pressing team to ever exist is a real sad state of affairs. Look,
why is that a sad state of affairs?
Because that's
why is adopting a strategy that nearly worked perfectly a sad state
really work perfectly, did it?
Because you lost. We went 1-0 up and could have went 2-0 up.
Not any point. You had one shot on target.
But we could have quite easily been 2-0 up. We could have quite been 2-0 up. No, we went 1-0 up, and then Salah was through 1v1, and Jack Grealish managed to get back.
Salah all the way back.
Yeah, Salah just had to open his body and wrap it around, and he was pretty much through. Or just keep going forward. Liverpool could have been 2-0 up. So it's not like the tactics didn't work.
Could have been, but weren't. But City could have also scored a lot more before that. I'll make a statement now that not one of that Liverpool team would get in the City team. Not one of them.
That's a load of bollocks, what you've just said.
Not one of them.
Complete and utter load of bollocks.
Not one of them.
The keeper, Liverpool keeper, is a country mile. Liverpool keeper is a country mile ahead of any keeper in world football. It's a load of bollocks, that, Jimmy. Just because Liverpool are, and I'll tell you what then.
Not one of them. Mo Salah had
one of the worst seasons in fucking football history by all accounts. Has had
Mahrez and Grealish ripped your fullbacks an absolute new one. I would take them any day over Salah and at this moment in time over Salah and
mate, honestly, it's good being fucking different opinions, but when you're
telling you, I wouldn't. If I was picking a combined side, I wouldn't have any Liverpool team.
Pick Riyad Mahrez ahead of Mo Salah,
which is most embarrassing chance ever.
Current form, absolutely. Current form.
He's got 41 goal involvements. He's fourth in Europe for goal involvements,
and he went missing in the big games. He
scored against City.
Mate, that one shot. He had one shot.
That's some stat, isn't it? You've just
one shot, one goal.
That's one shot, one goal, 100%. Fucking hell, Salah's a disaster.
Surely he shouldn't be having 100%, though. Surely he should be having more shots. Why should he not be having more? If my wingers only had one shot on target all game in the biggest game...
Is that Salah's fault, though?
Well, whose fault is it?
The team have to get him the ball in areas where he can finish chances.
Then, so the only one who could get into the Man City team, is you're right, is probably Alisson. But I would not take, over this current form, I would not take any one of them Liverpool players over that Man City team.
No,
and it's quite clearly shown.
World class, and he's well ahead of fucking Virgil van Dijk's had the poor season, but I'd still have Virgil van Dijk. You're saying ahead of Nathan Ake as long as any man's got a hole in
the team, did he? Nathan Ake didn't play in the team.
Shite, mate. Honestly, it's fucking ridiculous.
It's not, and I think people will agree with me because I think
I agree with that. No Liverpool player gets
you're eighth in the league. You're eighth in the league. You didn't even look like you scored one goal, and that was it on the counter attack. When City are absolutely pressing onto you, and you've countered. So
The
not at
first
any point
half
did
of
I
that
think
game, Liverpool were awful in the second half. Let's get that right. But in that
Liverpool
first
bad.
half, that was an excellent
I
game
don't
of
think they
football
were.
with two.
Well,
In my opinion, that was two good teams going right at it, and it could have been.
Mate, the game was brilliant. Don't get me wrong, the game was
Liverpool
brilliant.
were terrible in the
I was
second half.
disappointed in Liverpool. I thought they would have brought more to that game, given the scale of it. And
I don't know what you want them to do more in the first half. To be honest,
I want them to play
we
like
went in
Liverpool.
one. We went in one.
They can't play like Liverpool at the minute because they haven't played like that all season.
Okay,
we've all played football.
If you can't play like Liverpool, what you want to park the bus?
We're not saying park the bus, but we played on the counter. This is what we're saying. We can't beat Liverpool because we're not Liverpool at the moment. So we set up.
So you played on the counter, and it still didn't work.
Mate, there was about 4 or 5 opportunities.
Man United played on the counter against Liverpool at Anfield and got beat 7-0. That's how Man United play. Didn't work.
Man United are just as bad as Liverpool at this moment in time. The game, and that's a completely different thing. My point is valid. If I'm picking a team between the two teams, I'm telling you, not one of that level. Maybe Alisson, but I wouldn't pick Salah over Mahrez or Grealish.
Mate,
how many goals does Mahrez have this season?
I'm not bothered about goals.
Well, what's the point of football?
If you want to, well, neither you. When I talk around Harvey Elliott and I talk around, you'll say assists and goals don't matter. So you can't change your narrative when it comes to Mo Salah or Núñez as opposed to everyone else.
You can change your narrative when you're talking about players in different positions. You're talking about a forward line. What's the point of a forward line?
So my point is, when I talked around Harvey Elliott as an attacking midfielder, he's got one assist. I know, but when I say that about Harvey Elliott, Jamie goes, "Oh, we don't count assists. Assists don't count because you can play a pass. It's just a pass.
You're conflicting arguments here. When we talk about Harvey Elliott,
you're talking about Salah, but he's the world's best player because he's got the goal involvements. But his output, what?
You're going to talk about Salah's output.
Let's speak about
look at the goals he scored.
You tell me what the fuck Haaland does as an output as a footballer. Haaland is fucking. You watch Haaland, and I've got mates who are Man City fans who go, you come out of the game and you say, I can't believe how bad Haaland was, and he scored 4. So you can't have this narrative about one rule for you and it doesn't matter for anyone else. You're talking about a right side of front man, and Salah's got 40 goal involvements this season. He's 4th in world football. But you're picking Mahrez over
who he scored against.
Oh, here we go
again.
Here we go again. He'll probably say in a minute, if we wanted a one-on-one, though, we wouldn't have Mahrez. You'll have Salah.
I wouldn't have either of them, to be fair, in a one-on-one. I think they're both not the best finishers possible. But my point is, you're going back to 4.
You're going here now.
What? I'm going nowhere. My point is, and I not one of these. You've got your Liverpool heads on. This is the problem.
We haven't got the Liverpool heads on. I'm critical of Salah.
I'm not going. I want to buy. If Salah was available, Pep doesn't buy him. Pep does not buy him.
But now we're going down a different path. Why would you buy Salah at this stage in his career for all the money? We're conflicting arguments. You spoke about Harvey Elliott before. I just don't like the assist stats. Hold on, mate.
The point is relevant in the fact that none of that Liverpool team get in the Man City team. Not one of them. Maybe Alisson. That is the fact.
I'd say, but we'll put it to a vote. We'll see if people would pick Mahrez over Salah. Be interesting to see. Look, I'm trying not to have my Liverpool hat on here. Liverpool, I thought were decent in the first half. I think they went at City. What?
It's not working very well.
What isn't?
It's not working very well.
No, it's a bit mad that you wouldn't pick someone that's 4th in world football for basically goals and assists in your team, but that's fair enough. Football is a game of opinions. I think for me, I'm looking at that tank. Liverpool have some big questions asked of them. They have 80 big chances conceded in the league. Only Fulham have worse. They have one of the worst away records. 8 defeats this season, and this is including defeats against Bournemouth, Forest, Wolves, Brentford. Is this an attitude issue? I felt uncomfortable watching Klopp because you can only do so much, and I don't think he's had a great season by any stretch of the imagination, but I just think he's been let down and having to roll out different narratives after the same type of performance from the same type of players. But you're looking at some of these stats. It's relegation form for in terms of the away form, that questions mentality for me. We can all win home games with the fans behind you, but when the going gets tough away from home, Liverpool seem to throw in the towel. I also know that Jimmy is definitely Googling Riyad Mahrez's stats or something here.
About Mahrez's stats, I think he's better. But I'm looking who Salah scored against, and you'd be surprised that it's no one decent.
Hasn't he got one of the best records against the top six?
Yeah, he has.
So let's look.
I think
you want to know who he scored against this season?
6th goal in consecutive against Man City as well. But
what was that one, Tank?
I think that was a 6th consecutive goal against Man City. I thought I read the stat the other day, but he doesn't score against anyone. Jimmy, you haven't even got an argument with Salah. You just need to put that
an
to
argument
bed
in that he's 12
goals.
Out
with another shout to show Messi down the line. It's up there with that one.
But it's not though, because that was obviously tongue in cheek, isn't it? This is not. This is Salah is not as good as just because he scored. You last week were saying Harry Kane pads his numbers, right? Yes or no?
Internationally. We're not
talking at any point. Salah pads his numbers. He's got 5 goals against Rangers. Out of that 40, he's got 5 goals against Rangers.
Okay.
40 goal involvements or whatever. 5.
Okay.
Is this what you're hanging your hat on? That he scored 5 goals in the Champions League?
No, my point is,
Jimmy, we've moved on from that. We're just having this rant about fucking Salah and stats.
I wasn't talking about. I'll tell you what, I'll do with Tank Fact. I just say I wouldn't pick Salah over Mahrez at this moment in time.
Yeah, because he scored about 6 goals.
So, as the narrator of the podcast, I love the old passion, but if we could try to limit the talking over each other, it might make it a little better for the listener. Tank, on the point of is it a mentality thing?
The problem, I just think the problem with Liverpool for me at the minute, it's the overall package of the whole club. It's hit a spot now, Jamie, where you've got a group of players who are hungover from the achievements of last season. You've got a group of players who were completely and utterly deluded of confidence, and we've all played football, mate, and the difference of a confident player and a player whose confidence is shot. I mean, I went through a spell of Forest where I literally couldn't pass fucking 10 yards. I couldn't do it. And then all of a sudden, it was actually against Burnley. I put one in the top corner and then everything just come back naturally. And I was like, fuck. So I think it's to do with that. I think the lack of investment as well has cost us, along with the players who've done it week in, week out for us, your Henderson, your Fabinhos, your Trent, your Robbo. I just think the midfield boys, the legs have gone, and it's had an impact of how the front men are playing. The one thing what I must say is I think Klopp has had an absolute disaster of a season of a manager, because I personally think it's as clear as the nose on your face that if your midfield legs are gone, you just drop your back 4 or 5 or 10 yards further and condense the space in behind. We haven't done that. I just think it's a catalogue of everything what's gone wrong. I said this to you on the podcast when we beat Bournemouth. I said I'm not convinced this is the turning point. I said when we beat Manchester United, I'm not convinced that this is the turning point. I think Liverpool are going to get beat again on Tuesday. I think we'll get turned over at Arsenal at home on Saturday or Sunday, whenever that is. I think the season needs to end for Liverpool as soon as possible, and a reset needs doing at the club. But just quickly, Jamie, I don't think it's as bad as what everyone makes out to be. I think 3 or 4 solid, really quality additions in the midfield area with Diaz, Núñez, Salah, and other players to come back. I think we'll be all right next season.
Where are you with this, Jim? Because it could be labelled at me and Tank that we find it difficult to take off our Liverpool glasses. For want of a better word, for want of a better word, I do agree with Tank in that I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as what people say. I think with some reinvestments in key areas, namely midfield, with returning players to come back, I don't think they'll be a million miles away. I think the biggest issue is trying to get the form, the mental strength back of some of his bigger players who have fell off a cliff this season. A couple of things I want to come to you on, Jim. Klopp was doing his press conference today and he said he's the last man standing. Basically, I'll paraphrase. He's the last man standing of the managers at the moment. He's pretty much living on or surviving on past reputations, because if it was based on just this season alone, then maybe he might be in a little bit of trouble. Has it surprised you that there hasn't been more made of the Klopp out brigade based on where Liverpool are at, or do you think it's right that he kind of gets a free pass, free hit this season?
I wouldn't say it's a free hit. I'd say the Klopp out brigade needs to, wind it in just because of the way that he transformed the club. That doesn't mean he gets a free pass. I think he's on a downward slope at Liverpool. That's fair to say in his, where he's currently at in his reputation with fans. I think that's slightly waning. And the only reason I think that's waning is I think he comes across or can come across as a bit of a yes man. So he's sort of the sympathizer for the board. And, where you'd want a manager to stand on his laurels and go, no, I need players. This is what I need. It's not a disaster for Liverpool. It's not, because there's players there, but we all know where Liverpool's failings are. And the question I would ask is, as a outsider looking in, is, where do you think, whenever has Liverpool gone out and spent the money that is needed to spend? I'm not talking about Bellingham. I'm talking about in general. You need at least minimum 5 players, right? Minimum 5. And you don't get many decent footballers for 20 million quid these days. So that's 100 million there. Like, if you wanted to talk around, fill in the squad, you need a new centre half. You need at least 2 or 3 midfielders. You need a right back. I think for me, you probably need someone other than Tsimikas at left back, but that's probably the least of the problem areas. Robertson will be fucked. Trent's nowhere near where he needs to be, and you need, like I said, you need a minimum 5. But you don't spend that kind of money. So that would be the worry for me, because you are where you are now, but you all know what you need to do to get out of that. Everyone can see that. But it's funny, getting that in and getting out of it is the situation, isn't it? That's, any other club will go and spend what they need to spend. I don't think Liverpool, I just don't think they will do it. And I'll tell you something, if I'm Jude Bellingham sat at home listening to the Boot Room podcast with the Liverpool City game at the background, I know where I would be thinking about going. And it would not be Liverpool after that second half performance.
Right, we've got a couple of other topics that I want to get through, right? Tank, you took a bit of abuse for not buying into the United hype. Yeah. You took a bit of abuse, particularly on the old TikTok, for not buying into the United hype. It seems like they've kind of got themselves into a battle for top 4 now and not a title race. Seen a stat, they've played 6 of the top 9 away from home and lost all of those games. There's a lot of talk about the Glazers that seems to rear its head whenever United have a bad result. A lot United fans have clapped back, and fair play to them. I encourage that type of stuff, where basically they said that they do still sing about the Glazers out even when things are going well. I think my issue is Gary Neville came out and said about Dave, he's not backed the manager enough. They need a striker. My issue is it not a case of getting money? It's who they spend the money on. Did United need to go and spend 85 million or whatever it was on Anthony when they arguably had Jadon Sancho playing in the same position? They have opportunities to fill that gap within the squad. Should they not have been spending 85 million on a number 9 rather than then going and getting Weghorst? It seems like it's poor spending, not a case of spending enough. Or have I got that totally wrong?
I've said it from day one. United have not convinced me at all that they're going to. And I think if Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, Newcastle will be there next year. They'll all be back next year, or certainly not as bad as they are this year. And for me, that puts Manchester United under all of them clubs. Manchester United are dire. Lads, they're dire. They grind results out. They play a boring counter. We've been fortunate to grow up in the United eras where they used to blow teams away, and no matter who you support, if fucking as a Liverpool fan, I was like, fucking hate them, but they're not half good. They're some fucking team. Then this United side is absolutely woeful. It's woeful, and I keep hearing about how wonderful this Ten Hag is, and lads, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm still yet to see it, because I'm looking at that United side, And all of the best players who were playing the best football are all players who were already there. Luke Shaw's had a very good season, was already there. Varane's had a very good season, he was already there. David De Gea's been the best player of the season, was already there. Marcus Rashford.
Could you argue that is Ten Hag's influencing that he's kicked them on?
I'm not too sure that he has. But no.
That's his job, though, isn't it? Is a coach. We were talking about it before.
To get the best out of players, but like if he's that good and he spent, let's get it right, he spent over 300 odd million. He's got the fidget spinner, who's, for me, one of the worst footballers in world football. Someone tweeted me the other day and said he was our best player the other day. I was like, was he? I didn't fucking see him trouble Dan Burn at all. But what I'm saying is for 85 million, I mean, come on, he's bad. And the little hobbit who's playing centre-half, maybe that mid-season thing was just at the peak of form, but he's looking bang average again, in.
Where are you on the United thing, Jim?
I think it's easy to jump on this bandwagon after watching that, because that performance yesterday was bad. And the issue would be for me is that they seem devoid of any sort of both defensive and attacking prowess when Casemiro is on the pitch. That would be the biggest worry for me as a Man United fan.
Can I say something, Jim? Just a quick one. Sorry.
Yeah, go, mate. Yeah.
And look at us all being so nice to each other now because we were all talking.
We were all blowing our tops. That's it. It's like,
course, mate. You go, buddy.
This is the after sex cuddle, mate.
But Tank made a point earlier in the season where he was talking about Manchester United have the luxury of a player that's banging form. Marcus Rashford was the form player in Europe. And I think if I remember right, he said that United weren't playing that well, but Marcus Rashford was scoring goals at key times. Goals dried up a little bit. Man United aren't scoring goals. And all of a sudden, the complexion has changed a little bit. Could it just be that one player who was dragging them through games is hitting a bit of a lull?
Yeah, possibly. And I also think, like as I say, but that's the same in anywhere. City is second in the league and have got Erling Haaland, who scored 1,000 goals. So of course, we said it before that this sometimes happens. It's when that player then hits that dry patch in how everyone else reacts, and they haven't got the other players to help Marcus Rashford out. I thought Marcus Rashford was bad yesterday. I thought he was really bad, but then I thought everyone was bad, which is not
fit. Because that's the other thing. Because
this is it. So as he played, so he couldn't be. He might not be fit. I don't know is the answer, obviously, but he obviously didn't miss the international break due to a toe injury, and he's off in New York. So no doubt that'll be going down well with the fans. It was off gallivanting in New York, or whatever. But the players have got to live their lives, and he would have got permission from the club. So I just think that someone like Weghorst, you're never going to, I saw a stat the other day that him and Nathan Ake have played the same amount of games for Holland and got the same amount of goals. So one's a defender and obviously one's a striker, and that just sums him up. So he's a poor man's Emil Heskey.
Underrated Heskey, by the way, for me. Just randomly, just saying, criminally underrated.
Oh no, this is my point. Everyone from the outside, you say Heskey doesn't score, awful player, but everyone loved playing with him. Owen, everyone, because he did all the hard work. But Weghorst does all the hard work, but doesn't do anything that Heskey could have done it either. So it was. I think this was just a really bad game for United, a really bad game, and I think they've done well to get where they are. Will they'll reinvest in the summer. Look, and you say about the Glazers. When the Glazers bought the club, they had 500 million in debt, and they still got 500 million in debt 18 years later or whatever it is. So, that's still being serviced by, that's money that could have been put into the stadium. The stadium needs doing. There's a lot that need doing to that club. So they're nowhere near where they obviously were and where they should be. So I like Ten Hag. I think he's doing well. I think give him another season. I think the Anthony Barr looks a stinker at the minute, to be honest with you. I think he's got no confidence. What he used to do at Ajax was cutting on that left.
Did you not say that he's world class early on in the season?
I said he had the potential to be world class.
I could see that Tank was thinking that when you said that, and I was like, "Oh, here we go again."
Look, everyone has the potential to be. No one plays in the Prem without the potential to be a great player. Sometimes it doesn't fit. I said this about Diego Forlan. He came to the Premier League and absolutely stunk the place out. Went to Atletico Madrid and was, revered as one of the fucking best strikers ever. sometimes it just doesn't work. So
you wouldn't pick Anthony ahead of Mahrez or Salah on the right then, no?
I'd have Anthony over Salah.
Fuck off.
But what does Ten Hag do? Because he's got Sancho, who's on 300 grand a week, whose mind's been absolutely fried. He's got Martial, who doesn't even look like he wants to be anywhere else. It's just a bad concoction of players that have accumulated over the years.
So he doesn't want to play football, I don't think, Martial. You look at him and you think I don't think he actually wants to play football.
He doesn't want to be a footballer. I think he's just falling on it, and he's like, mate, he was like, he was the next Thierry Henry, wasn't he? If he had any sort of, the right sort of attitude, he could have been anywhere he wanted to be right now. And now he just looks like he hates being anywhere, like just anywhere in the world. But that might just be his demeanour. But you want to see more fight from him. There's just a lot of things wrong, and Ten Hag's doing it brick by brick at the minute. And when it falls down, it then falls on him. So I think it was just a really bad game, and I do hope they get in the top four, and see what they can do in the Champions League and more money with the Qataris or Radcliffe buying them next year.
So we've spent an hour talking, and there was about another 10 topics that I wanted to get to. So we'll have to park some of them. Yeah, we'll have to do them on Friday. Well, I'll definitely do it Friday. Couple of things I want to finish on, right? Tank, we got asked sent in a question. It was from Blake, right? I don't know if you've seen the story about Craig Bellamy. Yeah. And he's bankrupt, unfortunately. He's having a bit of trouble or whatever. And he spoke openly, and he has to be, for me, be commended for that, because I don't think these type of stories are shared.
I read the article. Did you read it?
Yeah. And I think for me, to paraphrase again, he's basically saying, look, I'm not a gambler, not a drinker, no drugs involved. He goes, I've just been given bad advice, bad investments over the years, and all my money's gone. He said, you get a lot of vultures and people giving you this bit of advice, that bit of advice. I know this is a topic that's been passionate. You've been passionate about, Tank, in terms of not doing enough to educate footballers in terms of the support that they're given, in terms of managing the finances and all that comes with kind of pre-planning for after your career. It was an interesting article for him to stand up and be open about this. It just highlights that there is a massive issue there for footballers. And I think it's easy for fans sometimes to go, well, they got loads of money. What problems do they have? But so you hear it a lot with national lottery winners. When you get a load of money, it creates problems, and these people just appear from nowhere. It was quite a telling article.
But this is not new. I've been through the similar situation, not to that scale, but we've done a podcast about my stuff with my pension, and I tell you what the problem is all of these people, all of your advisors, and all of and our own FA, the PFA, are massive into this, and there's going to be huge issues because the PFA would advise one of the PFA employees. I'm not going to name him because it is a call.
Do I need to say allegedly here, Tank?
Alleged. Well, no, it's not allegedly. It's a fact, because I've lost 600,000 quid of my pension through this, so it's a fact. I can say it's a fact. The problem is, Jamie, is the people who are advising these lads now. There's not enough scrutiny put on them to see, how honest they are and what the goal is and what the gains are, because all of these people is they're just there to make money for themselves. They don't give a fuck about the player. I had a financial advisor who told me to put £12,000 a month. I had 12 savings plans, all £1,000 per month on the 12 savings plans, and he said, just put them all in that, and then when you retire, you'll have that. And I was like, oh, that's class. That's fucking brilliant, that. So it's only further down the line when I was like, well, how much is that worth? I've been paying in these for like 9 years. It must be worth a fucking fortune. He got about £120,000 prepaid. So all of my first payments weren't even going into my pot. They were going to my financial advisor as his commission. No way. So these are the stuff what young players, honestly, I'm looking at doing something with some intelligent people from London about going around to clubs and speaking to people and setting up saving stuff where they control and they're in their own control of it. Because Craig Bellamy, reading between the lines, is trusted someone, put a lot of money into projects and basically being shafted. And it's fucking
some of the projects have gone to sort of like, they all invested in that media company as well, didn't they? And all the properties and that, which in hindsight is normally a sound financial.
Well, McManaman and Fowler have had a lot of joy with their property
portfolio, but
that's what they're in control of, though. They're in control of that. They're
so you need to be the one driving.
Investing in other people who they don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's sad. It is sad, and the more people speak up about this, and I think it sounds fantastic. I know you're passionate about it, Tank. Anything like that you'd be part of, I think it could hugely benefit people. So, fair play for doing that. I want to finish now on a question that came in. So we'll step away from the football for a second. Johnny's a good man. He always sends us in a question. It's always related to food, and I'm a big fan of food, right? So I very much welcome these questions. Johnny wants to know, and I'll come to you first, Jimbo. What are your weird food combos that you have? And for context, his is white bread, grated cheese, and ketchup.
I don't think that's that mad, to be honest with you. That's like,
I just feel like it's just missing some crisps. If he bangs some crisps in there,
I'll be honest, I prefer salad cream on my cheese sandwich, but I could have ketchup all day.
Salad cream? Oh no.
So this is it. So me, I have ketchup and mayonnaise on pretty much everything.
Together,
yeah. Like over everything.
It ends up the same colour as your top.
Yeah, it does. It is special sauce.
If you have a Chinese, do you put ketchup and mayonnaise?
No, not on. I mean, I could do, but I don't. Roast dinner, I would do. I don't, but only reason is I have roast dinner at the in-laws, so I'd kind of. But if I had one at home, I'd have ketchup and mayonnaise on it. If we have like a nice pie that's like a roast dinner pie, like a nice meat and potato, I have of that all. But I have ketchup and mayonnaise, but that isn't the one. So the pesto, green pesto sauce that you put on pasta, chicken. That
big fan, yeah, big fan.
Nice. So when I do that, when I get my bowl, I'd stick a load of salad cream in it and then mix it all up, so it's like a creamy
with the pesto.
Salad. Yeah, with the pesto. So it's like a salad creamy pesto. If you like salad cream, try it. It's a winner.
I feel like you're getting hungry talking about that story there, Jim.
You know what? It's funny that Johnny said it because we had it the other day. And I was like, oh, maybe I should tell other people about this because it could be the winner. It's
Jimbo's juice.
Very, very
I can
good.
see it now. The market's here in me. Jimbo's juice. Start selling them.
Very good. Please. Like a creamy pesto pasta salad.
Tank, what about you, lad?
I always used to have this at Trammy, and when I brought it home, my missus and kids think it's fucking disgusting, but it's one of the nicest concoctions you'll ever make, and it's a jack of potato with tuna, cheese, and beans.
I could have that.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there is, but it's and it's the context of the cold tuna and mayonnaise with the beans, and my kids think it's disgusting, but it's actually a fucking winner.
I've got an issue with bean juice. It freaks me out. It's just the juice.
I can't not eat anything that's not wet. Like if it's not got beans or gravy, that's why I have to have ketchup.
Where we going here?
He's talking about pies and that. Everything in my brain is saying, make a joke. Make a joke. Make a joke. I don't think I have any weird ones. I was a funny eater as a kid. My roast dinners. My mum will laugh if she's listening to this. My roast dinners for years used to be whatever meat it was, and then square-shaped crisps. I'd have the meat and the crisps. That was all I'd eat. It was a terrible eater. Then I started to broaden my horizons a little bit. I don't know if it's a weird combo, but I would pay good money to go into a restaurant and have white bread, ham and cheese and onion crisps with a pint of milk. That together as a combination is it's the greatest hangover cure. Number one,
be a crisp sandwich.
Mate, every day in school for my whole life, I would have crisp sandwiches, and I just feel like they are the greatest combination ever.
If you like crisp sandwiches, next time you go to what do you have at McDonald's?
I'm a chicken burger man now.
Yeah, chicken, but stick some chips on there.
Chicken deluxe.
Stick some chips on your chicken burger.
Oof.
Jack's a mad crisp butty fan. Even he comes home all the time and it's a bit strange.
Well, I'm passionate about it, Tank. I think it's one of the nicest tasting things ever.
Sunday. That's what he loves.
Yeah, and I'll be full and I'll enjoy it, and I'll be honest.
It's the softness of the bread and then the crispiness crispiness of the crisp. It's like
It's got
two
everything,
different
lad.
sensations.
And then you wash it
isn't
down with a pint of milk, and you're like, "This is
Got
just like,
everything.
it's the food. It's the food of gods. Like, here's Tank getting 10 grand steaks in Dubai or wherever he got. If you give me a crisp butty there, mate, I'm happy. Like, I'm genuinely.
He got a 10 grand
happy.
steak, but his missus got a crisp sandwich.
Yeah.
Lads, any crack for the rest of the week? What have you got on, Jim?
I'm out Friday, mate. I'm partying.
Out.
I'm boozing. Yeah.
So hold on, we're
have
not
you
doing a
seen the
live podcast
Cube?
on Friday. See this again, Tank. Jimmy not
Yeah,
doing a
that is
live
my
podcast.
fault. Yeah, that is my fault. But you know the Cube. Have
Tank's
you seen
got
the
his
Cube?
confused face. Hold on, Jim. What's up, Tank? Have we lost you?
No, I'm dipped out, lads. I lost everything for I thought my internet.
Jimmy was just saying he thinks you're dead sound.
Lying bastard.
Go ahead, Jim. You're out.
Yeah, I'm doing the Cube. So you know the TV program, the Cube.
Oh, that'd be class. Say you'd be good at that.
Eh?
Say you'd be all right at that.
I think I'll be very good at it. Yeah, I applied to go on.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I never got through. The only thing I ever got close to was catchphrase. I got interview and everything for that.
Belter, love catchphrase.
Remember when my brother was on £1 Million Drop, Jim? Do you remember that? When our Paul was on £1 Million Drop? You ever see that one, Tank, with Davina McCall?
I should have sent him the section. Oh, he's live.
Yeah, he got down to, was it 50 grand? And it's going back years now.
No, he had a 50-50 choice, wasn't it? At the end, it was a last
and it was like more passengers in Liverpool Lime Street Station or... No, airport. It wasn't. It was Liverpool John Lennon or Luton Airport. And he had to pick which had the most passengers going through it or something.
Got to be Luton, hasn't it?
I think the answer was Luton, but I think he picked... I could be wrong now, going back 10 years, but it was just mad. It was mad. He got on that game show. But, that sounds good, Jim. Sounds like you'll have a bit of crack there, lad.
Yeah, Jay English is out with me. We're out with Jay English as well.
Oof, Jesus, go on.
Yeah.
Go on, the boys.
Well, I went to see him the other day, and he was like, "Oh," I was like, "I'm in Manchester Friday. I've got this thing." And Layla went, "Oh, me and the girls are away." I was like, "Well, that means we're obviously going out and partying." So,
Dad's on tour. Go on, the
Dad's
boys.
on tour. Old Dad's in bed by 10.
What about you, Tank? Anything coming up?
No, Jack's got a couple of games this week, so he's playing some game Tuesday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, and then I think he's got Coventry at home Saturday, so just a normal run around football for me.
Normal run around the football. I haven't got much on myself, but I do want to finish actually by just giving a quick shout out to my nephew Hayden. His Liverpool under-14s team today won the Premier League International Cup. They beat Fulham in the final.
Then I saw that they were playing
PSV was in the semis. Yeah, PSV was in the semis. It went to penalties, and when my brother texted me to say like it's gone to pens, I was like, "Has Hayden scored this?" I was just like, I just wanted to know. And he went first and scored, so they beat Fulham in the final. So fair play and shout out to Hayden and all his team.
I'd have Hayden over Mahrez.
Oh fuck! Do you know what, Jim? We've got to see. My only worry is I feel like we all got very irate over that and basically just shouted over each other. So I'm hoping people can still hear the points.
I've got you to an absolute treat.
You weren't trying to. Don't try and get out of this now.
Your head. Oh no!
I never lose my head. I've said Liverpool are shit all season. I've said it from day one. I said the shit. They won't make top four. The shit. But when you come out for me. And I said this 2 or 3 weeks ago on the podcast, Jamie, when I said, I've got to be honest, lads, I've got to take back what I said about Salah. His numbers are fucking off the charts.
Yeah, he just wishes he could play Rangers every week.
Oh, geez. Right, before we start again, cheers. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hopefully, you enjoyed our mid-podcast shouting, and it was audible. But no, thank you all for your support as always. Keep your messages coming. Hope you're all looking after yourselves. All that good stuff. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube, please do so. If you haven't told a mate about the podcast, send it on to them. And if you could leave us a rating and review, that would be fantastic. But most importantly, as we always say, look after yourselves. Stay healthy. Stay happy, and We'll say we'll be back with you on Friday, but we're probably not because Jimmy's out boozing. So we'll be back with you soon.
I can do it from the Cube, live stream from the Cube.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we'll just shout abuse at you. But no, look, we'll be back with you soon anyway. You look after yourselves. All the best.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, boys.